Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury. What? Am I a month late? Guys, I'm not over it yet. Not only am I not over it, it got sent to me last night in like a YouTube feed. YouTube will just make you suggestions. And I get this thing last night and I click on it. And it was just highlights, just little highlights here and there. And I actually was looking for the sequence that Fury was caught in when Francis put him down. At any rate, I'm clicking on this, but it shows the walkout. And it shows a little bit of the fight. It shows a little bit, well, the knockdown that I talked about. Shows some of the later rounds, shows the decision. But it did a great job in these 3 minutes and 3 seconds of the video to remind me of the entire story. And I've got to tell you, I get drunk on the fights the same as you guys. You even get the post-fight blues when you wake up on Sunday morning, things like this. So I knew that I was captivated. Errol Hawani likes to call that short-term memory. We have short-term memories in this sport, which is true. I mean, there was a while, each time there was a pay-per-view, whoever won the title fight, that's the greatest fighter in the world. And then 1 month later, we would say it again. We just have short-term memories. And I thought I was getting kind of captivated by a little of that with this Francis and Fury business. So being removed from it, I wasn't even searching for it last night. It came to me, I re-clicked on it. Guys, it was the most remarkable sporting event I've ever seen. Is that a big statement or what? And you might make that statement the day after, but you would not make it a month later. Seen plenty of other fights since then. Seen plenty of other big news. Had plenty of time to think about it. Fury moved on the moment the fight was over. Went and was getting in this Usyk business. It was the most remarkable sporting event I have ever seen. And you would then have to define remarkable, but from my perspective, unbelievable, unexpected, defied logic, I believed would defy reality. Francis at one point was a 10-1 underdog. I don't know what he went off at. I think it actually got a little bit closer, but 10-1 was too low. I mean, to put that in perspective, Bo Nickal's last opponent in the UFC, who had a lot of fights, I think the guy was 7-2, was a 24-1 underdog against Bo. The guy actually had twice the experience that Bo had. I mean, his experience is worth something, right? Can we all agree if Francis had a small level of experience, we would expect that he would have done even better with Fury, and knowing what we know now, we would expect that he would have beaten Fury. So Bo Nickal's last opponent was a 24-1 underdog, and the biggest spread that Francis ever got to was 10-1, and that was too low. Way too low. Francis comes walking out. He's got a great couple of MMA coaches in his corner, with Nixick and Cooper, great MMA coaches. And then he's got Kamaru Usman and Izzy Adesanya. That's his corner. Why? Why would Kamaru Usman and Adesanya be there? Oh, because of the African connection, and these were the three kings, and they're so close. That's a nice story. I appreciate that. One of them lives in New Zealand, the other one lives in Florida, and Francis himself lives in Las Vegas. So the whole they're just thick as thieves business. They weren't like they were two former boxers. They've been there and done that, and now they're going to take their brother along the journey and show him the ins and outs from the locker room to the ring. It was none of those things. They were the two most famous guys that were willing to put their name on this embarrassment. Like, if you're a Francis hater, when you see this walkout and you know what's about to happen, you settle in with your popcorn because you're about to have your day made. And that's even what it feels like when you rewatch it. And when the fight starts, Francis is the one that comes across the ring. He wasn't supposed to do that. He was supposed to keep distance. He was supposed to stall. It was all about a moral victory. And a moral victory in this case was going to be defined for every single second that Francis can survive. If he could get through a round, that'd be impressive. If he could get through 3, which he was not going to get through 3, but if he could get through 3, wow. Francis is the one that came across the ring to start that fight. Fury's the one that encircled. When he saw him there going, what are you doing here? Halfway across the ring. Really interesting. Francis then got dog-tired in the 5th round, as you should do, for being in a sport that he's never done before. And he had to dig deep and he had to keep going. And in so many ways, not only was the night remarkable, okay, push that aside. It very much retold the story of Francis's career. And Francis's career and the longevity and the legacy, as they talked about, was going to be greatly challenged. It had already begun the night a common opponent in Ciryl Gane was finished and back to the locker room before he had time to break a sweat against Jon Jones. So the questioning of the career, and if you wanted to go back in timeline, you wanted to bring up they could fight, and you come to the Jon Jones did, and he's the one that left, like, it's going to take a couple of bumps. Another part of Francis's career is not only was Jon this away, but Daniel Cormier had just gone this away. Right? I mean, when Francis slid in against Stipe, you got Jon on hiatus, and you got Daniel, which would appear to be a nightmare of a matchup, and he had retired. Then you take a closer look at Francis. He had no belt that I'm aware of. I've never heard of him having a jiu-jitsu and then fill in the blank. Black, brown, purple. I've never heard of that. And his dreams were big, but they weren't Olympic. They weren't Division I. They weren't Abu Dhabi. He had a dream of being a boxer, but he didn't box. I mean, like, the questioning of Francis was right there for the taking. For all the reasons that I just mentioned. Daniel left and Jon wasn't there. Jon came back. You got the common opponent. He had no belt in anything. He was a big, strong guy. Yeah, it was right there for the taking. And those words that I just spoke will never be spoken. I mean, so many ways, Francis fixed everything. Everything got fixed. All the questions got answered. Nobody gets to answer all the questions. There's one part about the sport, right? I mean, the second GSP retired, it gets called into question. The day after Khabib retires, it gets called into question. When Jon Jones' time is up, it will then get called into question. And you never have an opportunity to fix it because you're retired. And nobody would even speak the words about Francis's point. I mean, it was one of these remarkable evenings. He was the world MMA champion, and he never lost the belt. Not in competition. He should be the rightful world heavyweight boxing champion right now. It was such an interesting thing to witness. And if I tell you the statement that it was the most remarkable sporting event that I've ever seen, and that doesn't mean I had to be alive. I didn't say of my lifetime, that I've ever seen. Because I wasn't alive for the Miracle on Ice, but I've watched it. I have seen it. The biggest surprise there was just that the team who won, the Americans, had nowhere near success or the record or the odds makers. They played hockey every goddamn weekend. They were experts at hockey. They just supposedly weren't as good as this team. Francis had never even done it before. And I'm just wondering, do you challenge my statement? Do you have a sporting event that defied logic, that defied what the world and the experts think they know, as opposed to what they actually know?